Welcome to the Armchair Imagineering Challenge number 2. Today, with me, I have, once again, the masterful Rob Yo, design expert, also quite handsome. Rob, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Thank you once again for hosting this fantastic challenge. I really love all the artists that come out of the woodwork. It's really fantastic. And we have two very special guests with us today. First, we have Aaron H. Goldberg, who is the author of the award-winning and best-selling books The Disney Story, Meet the Disney Brothers, and The Wonders of Walt Disney World. He's been featured in stories about Disney in the Los Angeles Times, CNN, Emirates Airline Magazine, Huffington Post, Orlando Sentinel, and more. Welcome, Aaron. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hey, Dan. Hey, guys. I'm sorry I don't sound like Rob and have a great accent, but here I am.
You have a wonderful accent. I think it's fantastic. Where are you from?
Dan, I'm not too far from you. Yeah. Philadelphia, buddy.
Yeah, man. We're rocking and rolling in Pennsylvania.
Yes, we are.
Meanwhile, on the other coast, joining us is Sam Carter, a seasoned, experienced designer who spent nearly 2 decades with Disney Creative Entertainment before becoming the creative director at the University of Southern California. He now runs Carter Creative Design Services, as well as being a featured artist at the Wonderground Gallery. And boy, oh boy, are those prints gorgeous. Sam Carter, welcome.
Too kind.
Yep.
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Pleasure. It's so wonderful to. We were talking about this before we started recording, Rob and I, but it's wonderful to finally be able to meet and see you guys. We've been.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
Slowly interacting with you over the couple of years on this.
Definitely the good things that came out of all this.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So challenge.
Making people feel well.
Challenge number 2. We're going to jump right into it. Rob, will you please take a moment and explain the challenge to the group?
Okay, so for challenge number 2, we went from a food cart in the previous challenge to now moving on to a full attraction. And just to sort of give everyone a level playing field, rather than just creating anything, we're given a very specific ride model, which is this top spin. And so the challenge was to take this sort of off-the-shelf vehicle and give it a theme, a backstory, a cue, think about props and other enhancements, lighting, sound effects, whatever you want to do. And the good thing about this challenge is this is a very real world themed entertainment designer problem, because you'll often get clients who can't afford to build an entire brand new attraction from scratch. So often they'll team up with another manufacturer, and then your job will be to take this and then somehow make it an amazing adventure rather than just a machine that spins around.
Yeah, that's what I really loved about this challenge specifically, is that you kind of gave a blank template, right? It's like you gave everyone the same coloring page, and now you're like, everyone, get out your 64 box of crayons. Maybe some of you have the 128, you fancy grand.
Ooh la la.
And colored in. Rob, the entries that came in this time, I was excited. I was impressed last time. The people aren't ready. The people are not ready. Should we jump in, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Aaron, Sam, have you guys been on a spinner ride like this? Is this a ride?
I have.
Is it? Are you a fan of this kind of ride?
I'll go on it. It depends. Honestly, it depends how it's themed around it. If they got the fountains underneath squirting up at you or something cool like that, maybe. But I'm more of a dark ride kind of guy. More thematical, but. Let's go get a headache on this thing.
I feel like a ride like this, Give Kids the World should have one in every park, and it should just be like, whatever falls out, we keep, and it's for charity.
Do you mean like a corner park on the sidewalk with like the slide and the swings and one of these things?
Yeah, they're not Disneyland, Disney World. It's just like that's their thing. So, there is a car. Someone is trying to steal a car right now in the front of one of you.
I'm
Not me.
best timing ever. Best timing ever.
Oh, that's
a funny
It's always completely silent. The one time actually recording audio, and all the neighbors' cars are going off.
all of them.
I just want to hear a British siren go by.
I was thinking that, Sam. I swear to God, I was thinking that.
All right, let's jump into the first entry from Donald Haleen III at It's the Boat. Merlin's Marvelous Machine. You enter a castle filled with inventions from a wizard. Is there any that are like traffic themed, Rob, that we could just cut to?
How about one where there's like a break-in happening? You have one of those?
Why don't you, Rob, if you just mute yourself on Skype while you're not talking, at the very least, right?
I'm going to close my window as well.
That's amazing.
I love it.
This is all staying in. This is all staying in too. We're not getting rid of this. This is gold. The people love this.
Okay,
all right.
Windows closed. That may help.
Merlin's Marvelous Machine. You enter a castle filled with inventions from the wizard. Come face to face with the sleeping dragon.
Sorry.
Come face to face with the sleeping dragon and riot the most infamous invention, which has been locked up for centuries. In the chamber, you'll come to face with fire, water, and projection magic effects all around you as you spin wildly out of control. I love this idea. This is very like what they did with Tomb Raider, right? Like this is like
right.
You have
Remind me of that,
big
for sure.
show building, and then you have like this very simple like one level queue entrance kind of thing. So we've seen this done, and this would be better because it's IP less, right? There's no worry
right.
about, when Tomb Raider, whatever it does or doesn't do.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the queue is half the attraction, which is great. You have that, hopefully a cool animatronic of that dragon in there, kind of setting the mood, and then you get in this big dark room. And I like the outside of it too, how it's not just a big box. It's got the castle elements to it. That's great.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's the half the game these days is making the attraction half of the queue, like has to be just as engaging, if not more. Right, and that's where
we're the 6 feet separation marks.
That's where we got pillar
that.
species from,
And don't touch the railing.
Because then, yeah.
All right, up next we have John Lynch at World Watchers 97. This is Baby Yoda's Force Practice Playground. It's fun and cute, but beware of those wishing to sabotage the child. Ooh, I dig it.
Yeah, when I saw this one, I was just seeing dollar signs. I was like, oh god, this is such a no-brainer. Like the merchandise sales alone, and then there's going to be like the Baby Yoda snack, although we're not supposed to call him Baby Yoda, right?
Right.
Hey, as long as you buy product.
Right.
This is definitely going in the expansion pad in Batu. I know it. I have a feeling.
Yeah, you know what though?
Yeah.
Like you go in there, you build a big show building, and you do it up like the swamps of Dagobah style with like the ETQ. You know what I mean? I could totally see this being like Yoda's Force trainer or something like this, and like the story is like in the queue, Yoda's like gotta teach you about the Force, and then and that's and then you eventually get on this thing, and the Force is gravity, But I love that idea.
Good
I love it.
twist.
I love the idea of pairing this kind of ride with some Star Wars storytelling.
We need the exit to the gift shop on this one for sure.
Oh yes.
There's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Lee Gaynor at Lee Gaynor. The Toucan is a themed top spin ride that raises up 200 feet off the ground. It is not for the faint of heart.
Good Lord.
Holy smokes! I just thought it was the color scheme. It's not. It's those two towers.
I like thrill rides. I looked at this one and I pooped myself a little bit because you're high up in the ground, and beyond that you're in a spinner, so you were going vertically. Man, there must be a splash zone like a mile radius underneath this attraction.
Oh my god! I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, they hand out raincoats for everybody who's below.
Projectile
Oh my
wallets.
Yeah.
You can't get killed.
I don't think I'm going to go on this
Empire
one.
State Building, but
I'm
you
going to sit
can
this one out.
Yeah.
But the fun thing that Lee was saying with this one is that talking about like different ride programs, so perhaps different tiered tickets, like you pay a bit more and you spend more time on the ride, or it's a bit more extreme or it's less extreme. I think they're talking about cameras, so you could get a video of you panicking for your life. But yeah, I think this is definitely the most extreme thrill ride version of all the entries.
I'm thinking you sell private events. You set up, it's like nice and flat and level, and you do a nice dinner, and it raises you up, and you have a nice view. But when dinner's over, the ride begins.
There's good monetization opportunities here with this one. Definitely.
Yes.
Yes.
And honestly, I think it's a creative paint job. If they're not looking to spend a ton of money and just trying to do something clever with how you're going to color the attraction, I think it looks great, especially like the eyeball part of it on the side. Well done.
You know where
Very
this ride this kind of thing wouldn't be a terrible idea is if it was like in a volcano and it was like a volcano eruption ride, because then you have a big encasement to stop like things from flying all over the place, and you have the story of rising because of the volcano erupting. You know what I mean? And so you could like double down. I think that would be super fun.
Dan, I already told you, you can't enter these competitions if you're going to be a judge, okay? It's not fair.
I'm just saying, like, I would never thought of that. Never in a million years would have thought of that. Oh, so Lee has some details here and a nice, anything, does he point out anything that we didn't cover, Rob?
So
Solar.
Oh, sorry, solar powered. Yeah. So basically, just for the rest of this presentation, we wanted to make sure that all the hard work everyone put in was included. It's slightly easier with pictures because it's very visual and you can just see it quickly. But if someone's written a big backstory, a lot of details, wanted to include that as well. So it is on the slides, so people watching on YouTube can just pause it and read it. But we won't go through all of it because otherwise this video will be 12 hours long, which nobody wants. But all the fantastic details are still here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lee. That was great. All right, up next we've got Claire, the practical joke spinner. Kids drag their parents on to make them sick, but only the kids' chairs spin, so they don't notice the parents are static and relaxed.
I love this one. I thought this was brilliant. Yeah.
So, in case you can't read it, this is such a clever idea because this is sort of Claire went on like a tangent, and it's not the same spinner ride that everyone else is doing, but it's it's a spinner ride that's a completely brand new invention. So she was talking about how throughout the park there'd be little animatronics where they're subliminally telling you kids, hey, if you want to make your parents throw up, take them on this ride. It's really extreme. It'll make your granny hurl, all of this. So kids are sort of rubbing their hands in glee, and then they're dragging their parents onto this ride. And when it starts going, only the kids' chairs are spinning and whirling. Perfect. And so they can't tell their parents just sort of, relaxing for 5 minutes because you've been in the theme park. It's a long day. You want to take a load off your feet. And yeah, they've got these TV screens so you can watch your children suffer.
I love it.
Well, the parents won't even notice in the line. They're going to be looking at their phone the whole time. So
Yeah. Totally.
All right, up next we have at Steven Sokowski and Casey Daniels at Where'd I Put It. In the unprecedented Jurassic experience, guests are brought face to face with one of history's most infamous killers. This is really cool. It's a dinosaur. It's a Jurassic Park one.
Mm-hmm.
This is fantastic. As the frenzied operator returns to the abandoned speakers, she tells riders that she has regained control of the door and is closing it now. The gantry lurches, and as guests spin backwards, they come face to face, upside down, with the raptor. That's so great.
So there's a ton of detail in the subsequent slides that you can read through because they've broken down every part of this story from the pre-show to every beat of the ride, which is really fantastic. Wow. But yeah, I was getting like Alien Encounter vibes from this, where you were kind of trapped, restrained. You've got this creature like clawing you, trying to get it, breaking the glass, and I think it ends with the creature basically get electrocuted to death. This raptor. So yeah.
Spoiler.
Oh, sorry. Skip to this time code to not find out what happens at the end of this hypothetical ride.
What I love about this is the storytelling you're doing. Like it's what Alien Encounter didn't do well because it became this very static, chamber of secrets kind of thing. But with this, you have this ability to. It's like Kong. It's like the thrill. It's like a hyper thrilled version of Kong. You know what I mean? It's great.
Well, especially if you time it right. Like say when the attraction is further back, if it's an animatronic, it moves forward closer to you in in the space where it moves around. I mean, you can get kind of nuts. I like it because you kind of feel like the goat from the first Jurassic Park, where you're just stuck there and
Yes.
you're gonna get it.
That's what they call the
I'm
ride,
gonna
the
say-
goat.
They should.
Fantastic.
And the tricky thing about this challenge is coming up with a story that explains what's happening to you physically. Because obviously, this is a very specific movement. It moves you up and down, it spins you around. And if you're in an amusement park, you don't need an explanation. The thrill is being flung around and showing how brave you are and, making it out alive. But if you're moving that into a theme park situation, you need to explain to people the context of what's happening, and it needs to make sense. That's why a lot of these are to do with magic, technology going haywire, or some sort of external force spinning you to make it make sense. And that's what makes a really good attraction. You're not questioning why it's happening. It just, fits.
Did you just describe Universal's Doctor Doom drop?
Maybe.
All right. Up next, we have MTA Design. On the edge of the forest, the fairy folk have made friends with some children who live nearby. The children have made a ride for the fairies, and you are excited to share the tomate spin. Am I pronouncing it?
We say tomato, we say tomato, maybe?
Tom T spin? Is it Tom T spin? I'm seeing a can.
Tom
I
T.
think that's. I thought it was tomato sauce, but it's
This is-
clearly Play-Doh.
This is Play-Doh. Yeah.
Just excuse me. The queue area is littered with their toys, but once you weave through them, you'll have reached the ride. This is a really great idea.
It's got me into the mindset of like Toy Story Land if there was a 50-foot tall Andy traffic. Because that changes
Terrifying.
it completely. But yeah,
We'll
like
get
I was
Bob
saying,
Bear to come out and design it.
if anyone could do it, it's him, surely. But yeah, it's a great way of explaining the action that's happening to you. Is you've got this enormous child who's spinning this toy, and yeah, it makes sense. I'm just guessing they, with the very kiddie sort of theming, they probably have to have a toned down ride profile, because otherwise you can have a lot of terrified toddlers being flung around.
That's what's kind of cool about it. It's like in contrast. It seems very playful and very like toddler type theme, but this might be the most extreme ride anyone goes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see that they have like kid versions of the drop towers. They have kid versions of
Woodstock's airmail.
Yeah,
That's very fun.
there you go. And so, like, they have. So, like, I could definitely see this. And then if you scale it to that size, to like a Camp Snoopy's like sized like kids attraction, I think you could get away with having some oversized. If it's
Definitely.
done right, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's a lot of forced perspective.
I think you're onto something there, Dan, because if you change the Play-Doh to soup, you could call it Camp Soupy.
Yeah, that's it, Rob.
Jeez.
Oh,
Tomato soup, too.
Rob, tonight you win the award for best making fun of Dan.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege.
Listen,
Soupy.
I don't want to go be crazy right now, but there is definitely a brand of pizza sauce that looks exactly like that can. All right, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I believe you.
That's my defense. All right, up next we have Ludpat with this. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful.
The Doma.
Rob, how do I say this first word correctly so I don't butcher it? The
I'm going to guess Brunelleschi.
Brunelleschi.
close, yeah.
I don't speak Italian.
Brunelleschi and the
yeah.
Dome Chaos Struction is a top spin ride
fantastic.
inside. That was probably terrible. Top spin ride inside a dome of screens. Oh, this is really good. After the success of the dome of the cathedral in Florence, architect
Yep.
has been tasked with another similar dome built for a church in a different Tuscan city. We, the guests, are painters who have to produce a beautiful fresco portraying the two rich committees as angels flying among the clouds. We use a particular machine made of wood and ropes to help us reach the top of the building as we are to paint. Brunelleschi
Oh, that's awesome.
assures the machine is absolutely safe, dismissing the perplexity of a coworker.
Very cool.
So in this one, this sounds like a really great comedic attraction, because you'd have these very sort of stuffy committee members who have commissioned this painting of themselves because they've got such a big ego. and then the machine goes up to start painting, and then of course everything starts going haywire. You've got workers flying in the projections, you've got paint going everywhere, ropes spinning.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's like Muppet Vision, 3D over.
Yeah.
If this had Muppets in, this would just have won the entire competition.
We're all in.
I think that really the only thing that it possibly is working against this is just the name of the, like, who probably was very clearly a
Flows off
guy
the
who
tongue.
did some really great stuff, and I just don't know him. But I'm the general public, you know what I mean? So if it was like Da Vinci, because like you know, like maybe because like I love the idea of a ride like that, like having a facade built around it to make it look like it's ropes and pulleys, you know what I mean, like from the queue of Indiana Jones or something like that. The idea of that is stunning to me. I love that so much. It's so great, man. Everyone in this competition is so good.
I'm already picturing a land based around this from like Florence. Like there's a really pretty tower directly next to that dome in Florence. I'm like, there's your Dr. Doom drop tower. Like I'll stop there. Good theme.
Easy to get carried away with this.
It's
Lots
easy.
of information here about the ride in addition. So pause your screen and read up. It's really, really great stuff.
Well done.
All right, up next, we've got the Welcome to Wreck-It Ralph's California Adventure's newest attraction, where you become part of the game. Guests will arrive at an arcade game-like structure that houses the attraction. Designed to immerse guests in the experience, the setup will also allow other park guests to stop and watch the fun. Entering through the power strip-like structure of the houses into the main queue, which is a simple switchback, winds around inside the busy hub of all the arcade games. When it's time for you to enter the game, guests will make their way through the plug portal itself, where they'll encounter an animatronic version of Ralph himself. Similar in size to Mr. Potato Head in Toy Story Mania. Ooh, I like that. Guests will, like any of his gaming buddies, and welcomes them to Fix-It Felix Jr., guests will be playing the role of the Nicelanders. Okay, this is great. So the ride becomes the, you essentially become part of the arcade game. This is...
Yeah, you're surrounded on all sides. So you can see Ralph wrecking the building, Fix-It Felix trying to repair it, and all sorts of zany effects going on around you.
They did a
sounds
3D
really
model
fun.
for this, right?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
I'm wondering if the actual the show building is like an arcade shape too, because then you have the actual Wreck-It Ralph Tower inside too. That's neat.
Because then you could do it kind of like Ratatouille, where you start off in a very human-sized building, and then as you go through the queue, the scale builds up and up and up and up until you're shrunk down to the size of one of the video game characters or a photon or however big the scale is in the movies.
Anything for Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, I really love the concept of the storytelling, like of how the ride is wrapped. It's really, really fun. And sorry, my dyslexia gets the best of me sometimes, so I'm trying my best. All right. Up next, we have Lisa at Listeria. List her. It's on the screen. I can't. Just leave me alone. The Watchmaker. This is the Watchmaker. He became mad because of the TikTok of all of his watches and clocks in his workshop. Too sure that he could create a machine to manipulate time, but for that he needs to test it. He takes us as guinea pigs, the poor tourists, you, who dare disturb him in the workshop at the back of his shop. Here you are in his thrill experience in a choreographed, punctuated, my goodness, those are some very interesting words all put together at the end of this. In a choreographed, punctuated by the pendulum, maybe will you go back in time?
Pretty cool. Those gears are gorgeous on the attraction itself. There's some nice architecture around it. I like the character around it. Yeah. Like having a character like that, that's not an IP. Not that it is, but it's like Hightower over in Tokyo Disney. It's just a cool, mysterious man, and yeah, pretty cool.
I like the you can immediately, only from a couple of words, get a sense of who this character is. A mad watchmaker. It's so evocative that you can immediately start filling in the backstory of like, that sounds like something that could happen. And then I was thinking, because of course when you look at these, it sort of triggers your own imagination. You think like how you'd enhance it. And I was thinking, if you've got this ride experience and you've got this big glazed roof, I was thinking if you want to sell the idea that this is a time machine, maybe the street outside is actually a projected screen, and you can have it going from present day to the buildings aging backwards to, you know, Victorian times. You could have it all the way back to dinosaurs.
It's like the TARDIS, you know, like
They've stole a time machine.
Very Smuggler's Run, in a way.
Ooh, yeah.
I do love the how it kind of evokes the image of a clock or a watch, though. If you're looking down, like those bioreconstruct aerial photos of this ride being constructed, it would look like a watch was being put together in this glass case. You know what I mean? With all the clock visible.
Cool.
I love that kind of idea that you are in the clock, you are in the watch. He's made a gigantic. The time machine is a gigantic clock or gigantic watch. If that.
Exactly.
That's.
Yeah.
So at least put some thought into the going too. I like that.
And I was thinking, with the pendulum swinging, it's helping explain the movement, because that's another thing. You've got this vehicle which is obviously powered by modern technology, but if you're placing it in a historical period, you need to explain to the guests, you know, just through the design of how this moves. You know, so your brain isn't going, this isn't quite right, I'm not buying into it. So if you've got the pendulum, your brain's instantly going to associate that with grandfather clocks, the kind of motion of gears interlocking. You think, oh, right, okay, it's some kind of, you know, clockwork, steam-powered, wind-up gizmo.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe what the last one kind of. It had all the workings of like being this mechanical thing made of ropes and pulleys and stuff like that, but it didn't have anyone necessarily pulling the ropes and whatnot, where this one has that kind of added intent of like, this is powering, you know. It's like those ketchup, mustard, and relish tubes at Dinosaur. You know those condiments are powering time travel. It's great.
Exactly.
Well, it says here, manipulate time. That's a really cool phrase, and it kind of has like a menacing feel. I would call this the time manipulator. Maybe, and then the watchmaker is like the character for the. It should have like a menacing title, and manipulating time sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds a lot more ominous.
Yeah.
Ooh, I would love some timekeeper-esque animatronic of him in the corner, pulling all kinds of stuff, and then and then you like Wicked Witch him, or like, you know, like where like there's a smoke effect and he turns into an old version of the animatronic because he's messing everything up. You know what I mean? And then and then he just vanishes into dust because he's just moved beyond time, and the ride stops, and that's how we get off.
Erased from existence.
Exactly, I like that, because then if you've got a story, then you've given it an arc. It's got a start, a middle, and then if you have this animatronic character who, you know, if he's been torturing you, he needs to get his comeuppance for there to be a satisfying ending. So yeah, have him, I don't know, Indiana Jones bad guy turn to dust, or Back to the Future vanish, something like that.
That's great. Fun stuff.
Here's a little bit of some views of the show building there. Really, really gorgeous. I love that. I love the full glass dome. Of all of these. I love the idea of putting it in a open structure so that you feel like it's always operating. You never have to worry about lightning, but you feel like you're out there, kind of. You know, it's kind of great.
Nice job, Lisa.
And it pulls double duty as well, because you know, you're getting a great view when you're riding it, and then also it acts as kinetic energy for the land, so it feels alive because there's movement. And then it's also a draw for people who go, oh, look at that, because you can sort of get a glimpse of it going through the windows, and it'll encourage you to go on the ride as well.
I love it. I dig it. I dig it a lot. All right, up next we have Liam M.R. Finley.
Doing the height again. Look how high that is.
Yeah, holy smokes. The Weather Waker. A mysterious structure towers over the melancholic lake. This topspin ride is fueled by visitors' fear, creating a storm cloud of fog, lightning, changing temperatures, scent, rain, and haunting projections, all part of the witch's spiteful revenge. This is gorgeous.
Hitting all the senses on this one.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's got such a great backstory. But I love the idea of you starting a castle and then you have to ascend in an elevator to get up to this thing.
Picture the lighting effects at nighttime, the fog and everything. Holy smokes.
Yes, and the
Cool
lake.
rock work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great because he has thought about like all the details, the special effects, the senses, the ride experience, the backstory. It's really well thought out.
I would be terrified to ride this. There's no way. No,
Yeah,
Definitely.
no thanks.
Yeah.
Hard pass from Dan.
this and the toucan in the same day.
Just put them side by side. All right, up next we have Morgan Carlyle, The Twisting Trees. The sorcerer forbade villagers from visiting his tower deep in the woods long ago. After all, his students can't afford the distraction. But when he leaves for a few days, the students decide to have a little fun with their magic. The students have animated the trees near the tower to create a thrilling ride, and they are inviting you. Sneak through a hidden path in the forest to evade the sorcerer's guard, golems, and join the fun before the sorcerer returns. That is really fun. I love that idea.
Very cool.
Am I the only one who was thinking like Whomping Willow ride?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have
Well, I like that they hid the structure. The structure itself is kind of hidden in those trees. That's great.
Yeah.
Even like the over the head restraints. It's awesome.
Yeah, like
Yes.
you could frame
Yeah.
it like, Fred and George have invented this wacky vehicle and they've charmed the Whomping Willow to hold it. You know what I mean? Have this big towering Whomping
Yeah.
Willow. Like here we are trying to fit it into IP, but this could stand alone on its own because it's just such a great idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say IP gets a bad name because it's usually sort of discarded as like it's automatically bad. But in some cases, I mean, it obviously has benefits because it becomes some of the experience that you've wanted to do since you've seen the movies. So it becomes kind of a wish fulfillment rather than starting from scratch.
Right.
And you don't have to work as hard with the backstory because people who are fans of the movies and books already know what a Whomping Willow is, that it's going to be chaotic, a bit scary, and they know what kind of experience they're in for.
Yeah, I dig it.
Good stuff.
All right, up next we have Martin Weegan. The attraction is nestled in a sacred hill resembling Newgrange in Ireland and surrounded with megalithic structures. The flooring has
Gorgeous.
a rune cloth design carved in bedrock and is painted. As passengers take place in the gondola and the ride starts, Celtic drums are heard, mist comes in, and we can hear the hymn of the Druids. Everything comes to a culmination in a frenzy of dramatic drumming and a big burst of fog. We have pleased the gods again, and the future looks bright. This attraction would be a nice addition to the Avalon area of Tover? I can't see if that's a V or a W. I
think
may
it's
need
Toverland.
glasses, folks. That may be what we're currently seeing here. Although this font isn't exactly the best on my eyes. So in the Netherlands, I love this. This is like Enchanted Tiki Room, but Celtic.
Well, the music's gonna be a big part of that. That's pretty neat. Make it look nice and ancient. It kind of looks like something bad's gonna happen there. Some ritual.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a really cool idea.
And you have like the
Great
concept
setup.
art. You have like a side elevation. You have a ground plan, and even like a drawing of the entrance. Well done.
Yeah, I think that
Great.
what's really fun about this is that it's very much like the structure very much looks like it's stone, right? It's in those big pillars of stone, and then it very quickly becomes clear that we are doing a ritual for the gods, and the gods are like spinning, like the gods are interacting with and enchanting this thing. It's a very cool, like the fact that like Cedar Fair could take this idea, like whatever, and throw this in any of their parks in a quarter, you know what I mean, and just have this whole, Celtic. Because that's what they're all about now, is finding another reason to have a celebration that they could bring in for a month. So this ride is a perfect addition to any parks
Absolutely.
that wants to do that.
In a way, you could even put this in as like the Fantasyland at Euro Disneyland. Oh my God, Euro Disney, I'm old. Disneyland Paris. But like, it reminds me of that. They had a Ferris wheel that's of the windmill. It's a similar kind of idea where you take an existing attraction, theme it up. This could be plopped right next to it, and you theme it to Merida.
That's true.
Ooh,
Plus,
that's a great idea.
Plus, their Fantasyland was trying to represent lots of European countries to appeal to
better.
the guests who are coming, and Ireland hasn't been represented yet. So yeah, it would slot in perfectly there.
Oh, I love the idea of getting some Brave theming in this, right? And having like a shack in the queue with the witch, you know what I mean? And so like,
Oh, yeah.
and like wisps like all over the place, you know, lightly like lighting up. Oh, that's so great. And then you
That'd be
can have
great tonight.
Mardoon in a trap underneath, right? And so like when they flip you upside down and throw you down, and door opens like that raptor one, and Mardoon comes up and he tries to get you.
Just imagine the safety spiel.
Keep your hands away from the bear.
Yeah, right. I love
This is fun.
I love how Rob giggles when I say Mordoon. That makes me happy. I don't know why you.
I can't explain it.
Up next, we have Matt Bashford. You're testing Professor Yo's time machine. What could go wrong? Rob, tell us what happens with this one.
Okay, so the mad Professor Yo, who has a fantastic name, by the way, I believe is inviting you to experiment on his time machine. And there's these projections that show how crazy he is. And then you ride it. And then using projections, it's a bit, Back to the Future, where they go back to prehistoric Hill Valley. Kind of, it has that vibe from what I read. And you encounter, dinosaurs and lava, and you get back just in the nick of time. But he says, "Oh, it's just a joke. It was just special effects. It wasn't a real time machine. Haha! Now you can all go." And then as you're going down the corridor at the end, there's like dinosaur footprints, claw
That's
marks
funny.
on the wall, blood, and it's like, "Oops, nah, don't worry about it."
You didn't see nothing.
That's really great.
like
It's
it.
what the dinosaur ride tries to do in Animal Kingdom with that one, like 75-year-old TV that's like on top of on top of a bookshelf in the gift shop, you know what I mean, or wherever it is, Well, they tried. Well, they had that whole effect at the end. But I would love if, like, at the exit when you got out of the side, there was clear evidence of a dinosaur trampling through the brush, like something like that. I love that kind of what Smuggler's Run does really well, right? With that little after effect. I love the idea
Absolutely.
of your ride experience affecting the theming after it's over, like that what you did impacted the environment around you. I think that's cool. I think that's fun. I don't think a lot of rides really do that.
Probably only a handful.
Other than like Smuggler's Run, right? But like, but I dig that. I think that's really fun. All right.
Yeah.
Up next we have Christopher Erb. Rob,
Tesla.
tell me about this one is so great. Talk to me about this one.
Okay, so I believe this is based on what's that movie that came out recently about the feud between Tesla and was it Edison?
Edison, yeah.
I want to say so. It's kind of picking up on that theme when electricity is this brand new novelty, and you've got no idea what kind of power it has. So it's kind of got that. I'm supposing Victorian like show theming where you'd go and watch these scientists experimenting. You get on the ride, and then the electricity is unleashed, and the room disappears. A bit like in the Tower of Terror, where it just becomes a star field. So he references Kusama's sort of endless starfield art installation. But that would be amazing. I mean, if you're on this ride which is already disorienting and then you lose all points of reference for what's up, what's down, I mean, that would be just mind-blowing.
What I think is one of the most insanely impressive things about this ride that I have just never I've never thought ever to do is that you magic ride vehicle. Like, it's what the Poseidon thing does at Universal Studios, right? You're in the room, there's lightning and stuff, and then boom, you're back in the room you were just in before. You're like, how did that happen? And that's really cool. The first time that happened to me, I was just like, what happened?
Yeah.
I was like, 12 or 13, whatever. I was like, I think maybe that
Well, the
was
Star Trek thing in Vegas. Did you ever see that?
Oh no, did they do something?
Well, when they beam you, they do something similar like that, and it is insane. And even like the sound of it moving makes like a whoosh sound. So the wind, you feel like you got beamed up. So yeah, it's an amazing effect.
But what's so cool about this is that then the queue is spectating the ride, right? Like the queue is watching the trick that then you're about to become a part of and see the secret behind it. So I love this feels very Prestige-esque, like from, very like
Yeah.
Tesla's machine that makes you disappear. I feel like this is more of a more about, people would not cling too much to the electricity, more so the magic, because I guess Tesla was just mixing those things, right? Of course.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
But I mean, the idea of the ride vehicle going, and then boom, they're gone. And you're waiting to get on the ride and watching it happen. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I can't even, like, it's so good. It's so.
Well, hopefully they exit and you don't see them exit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That trick has to be there too. So it comes up and they're gone.
Yeah, well,
Can we go old school and get a sponsor? Can we get Tesla to sponsor us here on this one? We go old school.
Oh,
we go like old school. We get a sponsor. A little Tesla.
This is
This one's solar powered then.
Chris, man, this was such a great idea. I really, really, really love it.
Well, it's a cool world that you'd want to create and actually visit. That whole era is awesome.
But definitely.
Yeah, because you get that mix of, like, it's almost Muppet Vision-esque, right? Where you have this pristine theater, but then you're also, it's kind of the reverse, and then the ride experience is this backstage kind of thing, right? Like the queue of Muppet Vision, where you see all the mechanics of how all the magic's about to happen. I would love if this was kind of like a Sorcerer's Apprentice kind of ride. Like you're like the sorcerer needs to teach you how the magic works, because
Is this the Nicolas Cage version? I'm trying to picture it.
absolutely. Are you kidding
Good.
me? If this is our gateway to get Nicolas Cage animatronics, sign me up, man.
I can't believe there isn't one already.
There might be. Let's be real. All right, up next we have Jacques.
Okay, so this needs a bit of explanation. So basically, Jacques had this amazing idea but ran out of time, but is still going to design it, and I'm going to share it on social media when he does. But just for the time being, I didn't want
We'll
him
drop
to
it in
miss
the
out.
next challenge.
But this would
top
be
of the next challenge too.
Yeah, absolutely. But this would be themed to the DeLorean out of Back to the Future 2, the flying one.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be great, because that means you'd have to build a hill valley, which they absolutely
Yes,
should have
please.
done a long time ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
What if they built the Hill Valley out of the real Hill Valley at Universal Studios? I'm just waiting for that before I die. That's what I have to see. Build it where it was filmed. Oh, sorry, go on.
What is
That
so
would be amazing.
magnificent about this idea is it removes the traditional concept of how the ride vehicle works, because you're now on, you're essentially putting a ride vehicle on a gimbal, right? Like on some kind of moving platform that's just separate. That's so cool. I love it. I love that so much. Right, because that's the idea.
Yeah.
The DeLorean would be parked in the middle of it, and you would get in, and maybe it's like Star Tours vehicle size, maybe something like that. But then the vehicle's facing, like that's so great. You could just have a DeLorean with a bunch of, like, you could Smuggler's Run this, right, with a DeLorean with just all artificial screens, and just have this in a big black building. You know what I mean? And do
I
like.
think you're describing Back to the Future, the ride.
Yeah, but I think this would be a better way of doing it. Well, I mean, that was in a big dome, right? I'm saying this would be like, okay, I'll shut up now. Up next, we have Fuzzy Panda's Ragnarok. Deep in the wilds of Mirkwood, an ancient legend lies in wait. Dare to test yourself and receive judgment. Do you have what it takes to face Ragnarok?
I was going to say, one of the really clever things about this, which I loved, is they're talking about each stage is sort of a test of your courage or wisdom or another one of these virtues. But the queue is a multiple choice queue, which I don't think anyone's done that. I might be wrong. It's probably in some fantastic park in Europe I've never been to. But the fact you can sort of go, I think one's through a cave, one's going underground. I think one might be going through a forest. But it'll all lead you to the same attraction eventually. But you sort of get that excitement of which way am I going to access it.
The cave queue is always shorter, bro. No, man, I just read an article about how the forest queue is shorter. We always need to take the forest queue. It's like, I don't know, guys. I think that the castle queue is great because it's single rider, and I don't want to spend any time with either of you. So you guys go in your... I love... You know, if Disney or Universal did that, there'd be videos on YouTube upon videos. The fastest queue for Ragnarok. What's the fastest path to take in Ragnarok?
Great art for
Runs
this
day
too.
one by vloggers with stopwatches.
Yeah. I love that the pit, like the opposite ends of the ride vehicle shoot flames. I feel
Oh,
like
hell yeah.
there's a small potential for burning liquid propane to fall
Jeez.
on guests. Maybe.
Nah.
That's
If you
part
can
of the
get
thrill.
Could be worth it. Yeah.
If you can get people going into Disney Springs saying, "It's like if I get coronavirus, that's on me. I'm signing away all liability." You can definitely say, "If I catch fire, I'm not going to sue."
I
It's
think
for theming.
I think that what maybe he mentions in all these notes here is that all those water fountains around the ride, if a guest, there's like a computer AI that just detects temperatures of guests, and if a guest suddenly catches fire, all the fountains go together at once to just blast, soak the entire ride.
Hose them.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, it says if a guest gets third-degree burns, they get to re-ride for free. So
They name the ride after you.
Fuzzy Panda says, really great one, man. This one gets the award for best queue. If you've been watching,
yes,
anytime you see one of these yellow squares, it's getting an award for one of Rob's Good Job Awards. What do you call it?
Yeah, that
Rob?
makes sense. Killer.
We need to think of some
these
kind
are-
of
these are just-
complicated artistic name for each, different.
so I'll run another competition to name the awards for this competition,
Yeah, there
and
you
then we can update this video.
All right, up next we have Congo Carly. You'll find Dr. Octopus's lair inside of an abandoned warehouse at the end of a dilapidated pier. The building is in shambles, window panes blown out, and is seemingly being swallowed by the ocean piece by piece. As you wind through the queue, there's a makeshift laboratory set up along the way, but the tools are strewn about haphazardly. Steel arches above creak and moan, and bits and pieces of a voice can be heard bouncing off every corner of the room. What's the story of this one? This is a Spider-Man one, right?
Spider-Man 2, yeah, with where Doc Ock has set up his experiment in this abandoned dock warehouse. So it's recreated that set from the movie, which is always great because if people are fans of that, they get to
It's
live
iconic.
it for real. It's such a great, cool looking piece of set design. So if you can experience that for real, that's awesome. And then using the Doc Ock tentacles again to explain why you're being thrown around. It's not completely random. It does make sense in the context of the story. That's a really smart connection as well.
I like the idea of creating architecture that looks like it's about to crumble. Take it way back for like the end of Pirates of the Caribbean when you have like the fortress is burning and you're kind of going underneath it, everything's creaking. It's all perfectly safe, but even like now you go on it, well, not now, but when you're ready to go on it, you're like, wow, that looks like it's really going to fall on us, right? Now picture a whole building like that, the broken glass. It's intimidating just walking in there. Pretty cool.
Exactly. That's where you get your thrill, doing something which feels like it's really dangerous. But in the back of your mind, no, this is completely safe. I'm okay. But it feels like what it would feel like to go into a building that's seconds away from collapsing.
And you might get a peek of one of those, tentacles flying around like that. And the noise of that would be pretty cool too. And that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
All right, up next we have Aaron Donahue. Go where few mortals have ever dared to tread, the otherworld of Irish mythology. Oisin, the great warrior poet, does not take kindly to mortal visitors. Tell me about this ride system, Rob.
Okay, I just wanted to preface this with just for complete fairness. This, I believe, was one of Erin's school projects from a while back, but it tied in perfectly with the competition. So just for fairness, because everyone else had 2 weeks to do their entry, and I don't know how long she was able to spend on this, but still, the artwork for it is absolutely gorgeous. And then she goes into detail about how the stone is going to be carved with all these runes. And as you're riding, all this music swelling, and then the carvings illuminate all the way up to this forced perspective castle on top of the hill. So it sounds like such a great, almost spiritual feeling attraction as you're riding, because you've got the music, you've got the water, you've got the lights. Yeah, it's just a really cool idea.
The water is a really great part of it. Having those fountains rise up at just the right time. That's what reminds me of when Knott's Berry Farm had it. They called it the Hammerhead. That water came up really close to you while you're up there hanging. And that was the biggest part of the thrill, I thought, too. Are we going to get wet now?
And on a hot day, you hope so.
Right.
All right, up next we have Trickster Bell, the Headbanger. Golden Snake Records needs a new gimmick to really liven up their concert, and Crazy Jack Spade has designed a contraption for you, lucky rock stars to test out. Oh, there we go. For you, lucky rock stars to test out. There's fire fountains in the pool in front of the ride, an audience facade in the back with simple projections, and karaoke in the queue so you can sing along to concerts as one big band. That's really, really fun.
Was anyone else thinking that this should have gone next to Rock and Roller Coaster?
I was thinking Superstar Limo, but yes.
Oh, both. You can have both, one on each coast.
Well, I like that they actually have characters for it. You know, that's bonus.
Yeah.
Yes. And it just looks just so much fun, because I think it might be this one where they talk about what music they play, but you can just imagine the soundtrack is just going to be like classic.
It's like an 80s vibe too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely.
What a cool era to go back to.
The characters, yeah, totally.
And it'd be a great one to spectate, because you can have the lights, you can have the music, and it's always fun to watch people sort of screaming and being thrown around. So it's going to be great entertainment whether you're on the attraction or just observing it.
It's a perfect name too, the Headbanger.
Yeah.
I like that.
How is this not already?
To throw back to that Tesla ride that we saw, I would love the idea of it being like something about like the band needs groupies to like for a big stunt for performance, and so like they load up a bunch of groupies for their anniversary concert, and that and so there's animatronics of a band playing in front of you, like but you're only seeing behind them, you know what I mean? And then you're just tasked to be crazy groupies to scream your heads off as they're rocking and rolling. It's a combination thrill ride, country bear jamboree kind of thing.
And in like 10 years or 15 years, we could take the groupies out, like sort of like they took out the redhead from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So it'd be like too much, so we need to remove the groupies.
I was going to say, because that just leads to like a really unfortunate like version of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique where everyone's just getting like really trashy.
Awesome.
Hairspray.
Lots of glitter.
Rob, what you're saying is money, right? I mean, like...
I can't help it.
Right.
Business all day long.
Yep.
I'm surprised they didn't just build like a 1,500 square foot warehouse next to Rock and Roller Coaster and just offer that now. You know what I mean? Like glam out at Hollywood Studios, you know?
Coming 2021.
Kick out Lightning McQueen. This is perfect for that. Do it right there.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, up next we have Leon Ermer with Gravity, top spin plus sphere projection. Rob, can you tell me about this one?
Amazing.
Okay, so this is actually genius, and I don't know why it doesn't exist, or it might exist and someone's going to tell me it's in China and I'm just not aware of it. But imagine going into a 360-degree dome, so it's like a thrill ride version of Soarin', but the screen is all around you. So you're going across a gangplank, you get on the vehicle, and it's themed to that scene from Gravity where Sandra Bullock is spinning out of control, and then around you in the dome you see Earth, you see space, you see stars, you see debris. I just think that's why this won the best connection between the ride and the story, because it's so such a non-brainer of how you mix what's happening ride-wise with the theme, and then the genius of having a 360-degree projection, so it's completely seamless. I just thought it was so smart.
That's really amazing.
Really amazing.
It's so professional looking.
Oh yeah, and really great execution of the entry as well. So well done, Leon.
And the ride system too, to be painted up like some space equipment. Perfect.
Yep, pop all that stuff off of Spaceship Earth that's painted black and repaint it. All right,
Easy.
Up next we have Molly Warner with Jarvis. Venture into Tony Stark's garage to help him test out the newest model of the Iron Man suit. With Tony's rock music blasting in the background, Jarvis will run a series of tests to determine the capabilities, durabilities, and reactions to the new suit. This is fantastic. This is everything Dr. Doom's drop is not, in terms of taking a carnival ride and adding some very simplistic theming to it to tell a story in an instant. That thing dropping over you and glowing the minute it locks, like that's the safety feature, is that it won't lock, it won't glow until it's locked. What? Every kid's gonna be so safe in this ride. It's gonna be incredible.
Yeah, it just makes sense with that scene from, it's the first Iron Man, I think, when he's trying out the cool suit, not the practical suit, and it's all going crazy and he's hitting the walls and getting injured. So that makes sense with the ride system. But I think what this has, what well, the Avengers Campus, is that what they're calling
Yep.
the
Yeah.
new land in California? This has the added bonus of this is going to be an environment that people have seen in every Iron Man film. So it's kind of that wish fulfillment of, I want to see his lab, I want to hear the music playing on a radio, I want to see the suits behind the glass. Whereas I think what I've seen from the design is kind of a brand new place. So you'd have to build up that goodwill from the dirt up.
They don't have Hogwarts Castle that you instantly recognize. For a while I was hoping they would build his mansion in Malibu. Like, if you want to tie into Marvel and California Adventure, all right, he's from Malibu. Done. Sign me up. But
Put down pics up here.
I'm sure. I doubt that there was license. I doubt they licensed the design of that from that architect to recreate that. I bet they'd have to pay so much money. Because that's a real building, wasn't it? Like, it was a real, or is it all original?
the mansion?
Is it a real
mansion?
Malibu mansion?
It looks like one I've seen down in like Laguna area, but I'm not for sure.
I love that. Real quick here, that it mentions that the Q system is all digital, kind of like Jimmy Fallon, and so what you're left with is able to wander around Tony Stark's lab and kind of check out all the suits.
That'd be a fun queue.
Yeah, it would be. Well, it's all digital Q, so it's all tech. So there is no waiting. You're just kind of giving a boarding group, and then you can watch the tests go underway. I think that's so great. A really insanely rich. You just build a huge warehouse and fill it with Avengers prop recreations, and then lightly theme the areas around them, like they do at D23. You know what I mean? Have a bunch of, it's like the answer to the collector's queue. But like, but more grounded in the Marvel, in the terrestrial kind of props and gags.
Absolutely, yeah.
I just want to hear Jarvis's voice in the queue too, and maybe some Tony kind of going back and forth arguing.
Oh yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
And all the safety spiels would be on the really cool, like, full-length wall screens, diagrams.
Yeah, this
There's so
I
much
feel
you
like
could
you
do
would
with this
get
idea.
instead of doing like the Harry Potter queue like projection on like a glass thing. I feel like they've just like they would just do a Tony Stark but blue. He would just be a hologram. They wouldn't try to make it look like he was there because there's no need for that, right? On top of that, if he did need to make a physical appearance, it could be an Iron Man animatronic. Like just, and he's just like, all right, see you guys, I have to go do something, and he's off again, and his suit never really opens and exposes. I think that this is Iron Man is easily one of the best attractions to use animatronics with. Is all I'm saying.
Right.
So easy when it's a robot.
No face details.
All right, up next we have Parks with Peyton, Andy's topsy-turvy Tinder toy.
That's fun.
Enlist now. Rob, tell me about this one. It's pretty straightforward. Is there anything? It's gorgeous. It's fantastic.
I think it's quite self-explanatory story-wise, but it just fits so seamlessly into Toy Story land, with the design of it made out of Tinker Toys, and it kind of has the. I think he says there's Green Army men who are like the cast members, and I think there's also an animatronic Sarge because he's supposed to be sort of testing a metal and making sure it's tough enough to be a Green Army man. So he's shouting encouragement as it's spinning around and going through the ride cycle, which is very cool.
I love the idea of this being another kid-sized version of this ride, because then you can then realistically make the grass like kind of like old school Hollywood studios. You can make the kids feel like they're in a high grass area and they're cresting over the grass and like to like test their surveillance skills, like because they're always on the lookout, right? Because you have in the art you have a couple of the soldiers up top peering over the grass line. So I think that's just like absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I agree.
And we know who the sponsor is going to be.
Right?
Soup.
Tinker Toy.
Does Disney just own Tinker Toy at this point?
It might as well.
Probably
a
is
Mattel thing,
everywhere.
right?
Shout out to my good friend Rob Plays, whose channel is now midway to Main Street. It was my idea for him to go into Toy Story Land and count all the toys that they had in there and bring up a dollar value from Andy's perspective
Oh my gosh.
of how much he spent on the toys for his backyard. It's a really great video. Go watch it.
Awesome.
All right. Up next, we have Lisa K. Tate, Doctor Who Into the Vortex. Ride itself inside a translucent dome surrounded by LED or fiber optic galaxy stars and lights. This is really great because if you're not a fan of Doctor Who, their home planet, where Doctor Who is from, is called Gallifrey, and it is inside this large glass dome on the city is on the planet. It's gorgeous, and so I love that. That's pretty rad, kind of.
Yeah, and I'm sure for Doctor Who fans, being able to walk inside the TARDIS is going to be their Hogwarts moment.
for sure.
So to have that in an attraction would blow their minds.
That's where you could do a divided queue. You have the TARDIS from all the Doctors, right? And so each time you ride, your group gets pulled into one of, like, the show building is surrounded by TARDIS queue rooms, pre-show rooms, and just depending on what boarding group you get pulled into, you get a story with that Doctor as your pre-show. I would that would be, because then because there's 15, 20 TARDIS rooms now, at least 8 iconic ones, right? 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I really love that idea of having because then you appease to everyone. Everyone in Britain would go there and be like, I need to get my Doctor's TARDIS. You know what I mean?
They wouldn't even go on the ride. They just want to do the queue.
Right, yeah. It's like Harry Potter. They could just be like, probably no one rides it. You know what? Let's just get rid of the mid ride. Let's just do that. Let's just do a Star Tour.
That's not really the challenge, but yeah. Nice entry. We're going to get rid of it.
You guys are great. No, it's really. I love the idea. I think it's genius. All right, up next we have Irving S.A. with the Magno Trio. Rob, can you tell me about this one?
Okay, so I don't know how familiar everyone is with the original version of Space Mountain in Paris, but that was all Jules Verne themed, from the Earth to the Moon. And part of that, I think it was in the original novel, is to slow down the bullet coming back from the moon. They have to come up with this electronic powered brake, essentially. So this is kind of the expanded universe of that Space Mountain, where or even a prequel where they're coming up with this brake machinery. So this is an oversized one, and it would be sparking and throwing you around. And then I think they said the grand finale would be this whoosh of water, which is sort of the fail-safe for when it's overpowered.
Oh my gosh.
So there's the element of you might get wet, which is always welcome.
Oh, very like Disaster Canyon.
Yeah, exactly. When in doubt, throw a wave of water.
You know what, though? It's a really dramatic, breathtaking thing that happens when it happens. You know what I mean? Like, the mechanics of it, I'm sure, are pretty simple. But when it happens, you're just like, my God, that's a lot of water, and we're indoors. You know what I mean? So, well,
yeah, there's no substitute for real elements. Real fire, real water, absolutely. Winner every time.
All right, up next we have Costume Adam D. And we have the Soul Destroyer. This is really fun. This feels like Dark Kingdom from Animal Kingdom, kind of, but a bit more terrifying.
I want Tenacious D to do the music for this one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Or we get a little Ozzy playing in the background music,
Exactly.
some Ozzy, maybe some Slayer. Yeah.
This is so dark. It's like a NyQuil nightmare. That's why it's one. I gave it an award because this is like the darkest thing I've ever seen theme park wise, including the detail which has haunted my dreams since I read it. The seats are corpses, and as you sit down on them, they let out a little scream, and that is horrible. It's absolutely.
Oh, I love it even more.
And Rob, I read your tweet the other day about you not believing in ghosts and your experience in the castle, so that kind of like all ties in here.
Yeah, I'm just rocking back and forth, like trying to not recreate it. And then this animatronic demon underneath the ride with the flames, and every element of this is just absolutely horrific. But in a really
So
good
when a
way.
bunch of nuns go and visit the park, they're going to go straight to this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I dig it. I really, really dig it. It's really fun. All right. Up next, we have Instagram. There you could. Reg Miniaturist at Large. There you go. I said it. Ooh, this one's really pretty. The cute.
So,
go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, this kind of reminds me of Journey to the Center of the Earth, Tokyo Disney Sea, in the fact you've kind of got, you're inside, it kind of looks like a geode, like a crystal garden almost. And then they've turned, I believe the ride is supposed to be this rare element crystal. It's a way of harnessing it. Or it's like what do you call it? A rock tumbler. But yeah, the artwork for the queue and the attraction, I mean, if you saw that for real, that would be absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, this also justifies them always trying to sell rocks in gift shops. This would just be the perfect place to do it. It'd just be like, all right, everyone move. It's like everyone go around to the gift shops and pick up all those strange wooden square tables with various rocks that you could buy at theme parks, because that's what everyone wants.
For some reason. Yeah, you can get your
polished rocks. Yeah.
Well, coming from someone who just watched The Core last night, let me tell you something. This would be a very visually stunning queue. You know, it's essentially like the scene in Seven Dwarfs Coaster, right? With all the glowing crystal, but but on a Pandora-esque scale and level. It would just be like, whoa! It would be really, really cool to be in there.
I thought you were going to suggest giving this an IP overlay of the core, which would be a bold move. For
you know what? They did it to Armageddon.
Nearly 20 years old.
I would argue this would be
flop.
In the core.
That's a big swing.
They have a train that tunnels to the center of the Earth. That's encased in 6 feet of this special metal they invent. It doesn't have a windshield, yet it has headlights. Explain that to me. I can't. I don't know.
That's a different video. Although I'm going to say Stanley Tucci AA is probably on my wish list, just slightly underneath Nicolas Cage.
You know what? If we could get a Tucci Annie, that'd be super awesome, right?
Tucci Annie.
That's what they would call it in Imagineering in the shop. Got to go work on Tucci Annie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, Aaron, I'm so sorry. Up next, we have Lalunkin. This edutainment attraction will educate guests about NASA's history of testing and experimenting in the effects of high G-forces on human body, primarily for space flight. The Topspin attraction itself is quite tame to be suited for a family audience. The Topspin used to mimic a high G testing unit used in real life. So this is kind of like another take on mission space in terms of training. I could see them building a huge building behind mission space and putting two of these side by side. I feel like this is a cheap, easy way to expand out something like that area of a
boost that ride count for sure.
Yeah.
It explains the mechanism too, like all the G-forces and stuff.
Exactly.
Until they do like a green flight and it just kind of sits there.
This goes.
I love the idea of. I mean, we saw previously with the Galaxy one. It's like more of a mellow educational Soarin' kind of thing, and then this one you have that very intense kind of. Training kind of thing, and I would love to see what they do in mission space where there's like kind of like a green and like an orange, and so like the green one is they built two of them, right? Because we've all seen Contact, we know that's the right thing to do. So they built two of them. One of them is green, and that's like more of like a spacey kind of Soarin' family friendly one. It's the same bright building, same projections, same seamless everything, and then there's an orange one that's like the spaceship training one, and you could choose. You know, which do you want to do Soarin' or do you want to do Soarin' Max Pass Plus? You know what I mean?
But it's green and orange light, and sometimes they malfunction. And oops, I'm sorry, you're on the orange one today.
Hope none of you have heart conditions. I think this is really great. I love the show building and everything. I think this is a really fun one. Up next, we have DJ Fontheon. DJ Fontheon? That's just how I'm going to say the whole word at once.
DJ Fon the One?
DJ Fon.
The rules off the top.
With Space Academy. Ooh, another space one. Rob, can you tell me about this one?
This is quite interesting because this is, even though it's space themed, it's a completely different take on it. I like the fact, the way the queue works is you're constantly sort of circling and getting a glimpse of the attraction, which builds anticipation. And then each of the queue rooms, I believe, is sort of a little readiness test. Like there's one about kind of perception, kind of like an optical illusion room. But that way, you know, when you're in the queue, still having fun, you're getting that glimpse of the ride vehicle, so that's building anticipation, it's keeping you sort of interested in what's going on. It's just a really interesting way of handling the cue of it and building, excitement. That's really good.
I dig it. And here's some more information so you can pause the screen and take a closer look. Up next, we have Olivia with Professor Payne's miracle medicinal cure-all contraption. Can this special machine really cure all ailments known to man, or is it just the work of a snake oil salesman?
Can I say she had me at lumbago? There's lumbago on the box. She had me at lumbago. I'm in. That's it. That's all I needed to say.
But yeah, this would be great. This is kind of like a Frontierland take on it, and I don't think any of the others have done that yet. Or, this could be kind of, I think they were talking a while back about Disney had an idea for a Wizard of Oz area, and this could be kind of a Professor Marvel-ish thing. But yeah, and this is really nice artwork as well. I love the illustration.
Especially if it was kind of a Wizard of Oz land that's like Batu, where you have half being Kansas and half being Oz, and the exit of this attraction, you dump into Oz. No matter, like, there's just no way of, you know what I mean. So you get on in Kansas and ride this cure-all thing, and then it launches you into Oz. I think that's such a brilliant storytelling with this kind of theming. I loved it.
That would be really cool.
Now here's another slide with a bunch of more information from Olivia about this one. So pause it and take a peek. Really, really fun. I like this idea a lot. Up next, we have Ray Kampf with Sunny Side Upside Down. This is
I love this one for some reason. I love it. Yeah.
Rob, can you tell me why everyone's breakfast dreams are going to come true with this ride?
It's just everything you want. So it's taking inspiration from the sort of art movement of having these giant oversized novelty props. Or in the 30s when you'd have if you're going to a burger stand and the burger stand is a giant burger. So it's sort of everything's larger than life. It's very whimsical. It's got this animatronic who's sort of a cross between maybe Mr. Potato Head, like the Carnival Barker, crossed with was it Mr. Egg out of not Food Rocks? Yeah, his predecessor. But yeah, it's just such a funny idea because there's lots of entries which are going down the serious route of witchcraft and ancient magic and evil and this is just a breakfast ride. It's amazing. I love the design of it. It's so much fun.
To be over a frying pan is pretty funny. Then you see that egg just kind of slapping on that toaster. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And that water tower could be totally iconic too for it. This is a fun style.
Yeah, because it almost looks like a coffee pot, like a little teacup, a little rather old school coffee pot.
Yeah.
Percolating coffee.
Now, I could see if you wanted to put IP on this, it could be Dana Barrett's spooky egg crate.
So we need a big bag of Stay Puft marshmallows right next to it.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're hovering over. Or you're hovering over a refrigerator that opens up and you can see Zool inside.
Yeah, Universal announced they're doing a Ghostbusters attraction. You show up and it's just the scene where the eggs are bubbling on the counter. Everyone's
spatula spinning around.
I still have to say, Mr. Just Been Laid. I mean, that's your host. Who doesn't want an attraction with the host's name, Mr. Just Been Laid? Come on.
I argue with you.
Of course, he's just been laid.
Of course. I know. I love it.
I'd argue with you that that's exactly what Universal Studios did with Harry Potter at Diagon Alley. They took one incredibly tiny moment that is completely unrelatable to most of the other series and shoehorned in some ridiculous minecart ride. You know what I mean? Like, I could 100% see Universal doing this. Like, guys, everyone loves when the eggs crack. It was one of your favorite things when you watch the movie. Everyone talks about it. Of course, we're making a ride about it.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Up next, we have Fix Morgan with Welcome to Croatia. Rob, can you tell me about this one?
All right, so this is called, what is it, Locarum Malediction, and it's themed to, I believe, like either an abandoned or burned down monastery in Croatia. So there's a really cool detail about going through, the queue and getting the atmosphere and the ominous chanting. It's kind of a bit Tower of Terror reminiscent of, you're going through a place and you've got a sense of dread that something horrible's happened and it's all overgrown. And then when you actually get on the attraction, you've got the ominous chanting, and there's been some kind of curse. But yeah, I just love this 3D render of the entire. It's basically almost a land that he's created, because it's got room for a restaurant and a shop, as well as the attraction. It's just beautiful.
As soon as they add Croatia to a World Showcase, we'll get this right in there.
Done deal.
All right, up next we have Corv, with the Shipwreck Oasis is known for being the resting place for many boats, all shapes and sizes, as well as a few unlucky planes. But what has caused all this carnage? Guest riding will get a full view of the mighty Kraken that has been eating and consuming all of these wrecks.
And if you click through, there's actually a video of this, which...
Are you kidding me?
No.
And it's...
You can cut this out, right?
Yeah.
I was patiently waiting for the video to load.
It looks like they created the whole world, though.
Yeah, I think this is in
model.
Planet Coaster.
Oh, wow.
Shoot. Okay, when what we might just have to do is just all act really impressed.
Okay, just imagine a video where they're doing a fly-through of the ride and it's being attacked by a Kraken that's coming out of the water. But yeah, it does look really cool.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh my goodness. The plane crashed in the water.
It looks like the water's full of all kinds of different wrecked vessels and...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it gives you that sense of foreboding that something terrible's about to happen.
I feel like the only problem with this is that guests queuing for it are going to get... It's just going to be like... It's like seeing the Jaws reveal on the ride. You need like a little village of Amity between the queue and...
To hide it.
Yeah, this thing needs to be... Like, a bunch of boats need to be...
I can't believe you created this whole model. Wow.
Yeah, the detail, it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. You don't want to spoil the reveal of the monster. So if you had some kind of like a town facade or something, or even a tree line to block it, that would be cool. And I think the only other bit that's missing for me is the justification of the ride.
Hey, there he is.
There we go.
I mean,
Wow.
that's badass in itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it needs to explain, why your ride's spinning, why you're going up in the air, just to give it a bit of context.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really wonderful concept, except for explaining the purpose of what you're doing. Like if it was like some kind of like Jungle Cruise-esque thing where like it's like some skipper has made some mechanism to fight this big beast and he needs your help powering it. If there's some kind of like, what is the mechanism? I love but if this is just an amusement park, it's just like, hey, you never guess what we just bought from
Next.
Norway. It's a top spinner and we need to theme it. So, I dig it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right, up next we have Timbers Twisted. When I think of top spin rides and their rotating motion, I'm reminding of clocks and time travel, which is what this ride is themed around. It begins with a group of inventors who create a time machine in their basement laboratory and is set to the late 1800s. After working the time machine for years in hopes of becoming rich and famous, the group opens their invention to the public, charging guests $10 to experience time travel, but for only a short 3 minutes. Guests are required to wear time travel glasses or VR headsets as they time travel into the future. You know what? It is certainly a way to take I would assume to be a relatively cheap investment for something like a theme park, and really plussing it up with technology to make it like it's what you pay like $25 for a digital coaster for, but taking it to a much bigger scale, which I kind of dig a lot.
You could even sell those as souvenirs. Ones without whatever the 3D lenses are, but I mean, I love the design. They're kind of like Quidditch goggles.
Every pair of 3D glasses sold in the park should have a sunglass equivalent sold in the gift shop. That is just.
Thank you.
It's why
I'd wear
I commissioned you to Photoshop them for me. So.
Yeah, that's true. I think the only thing I'd want to see from this one is, if you're time traveling, what do you see? I'm sure we can fill in our own heads about what these scenarios are going to be, but I'd love to see like what time periods you're going to vanish into and make best use of this VR technology.
All right, up next we have Emery Arts with the. I can't read it. This is a concept revolving around a massive mansion for the far end of a German village, which features a cathedral considered by the locals to be haunted. Tour guides lead you to the restoration area of the cathedral. You step into a sunken church pews in the dusty basement, and just as the tour begins, your pews are lifted to the view of the cathedral space. A strong storm hits the area, and an entity forms in the seeping mist at the far end. This is a really, really fun concept of combining that kind of cathedral space with like this haunted attraction.
Plus, it would be such a like wow moment because part of it is the roof of the cathedral and the whole top half get lifted off, almost like a twister, while you're spinning around. So that would be absolutely amazing to experience.
So cool.
I just want to see that wrecked cathedral architecture kind of being all, disjointed. Kind of neat.
Yes.
All right, up next we've got designs by Megan with Canopy Flight. Gain a new perspective on the beauty of nature. Soar from the forest floor through the tops of trees and take in the sights and sounds of all the rainforest has to offer, with a spectacular mountain view waiting area at the top. This is great.
I think this is so novel because this one is actually really peaceful and calm, almost sort of soaring like, because it's not about, scaring you or anything like that. It's about using the vehicle to sort of give you this incredible view of nature and this forest. It's just a really cool take on the concept.
There's no demon in the lava below this, though?
There's no corpse seats. There's no Iron Man. It's just
nature.
a relaxing time.
Speaking of,
And a bunch of screams.
you could definitely. This is what really gives me Avatar vibes about it, and it surprises me that no one's thought about using the floating mountains as like, and having the arms be like holding onto a floating piece of rock, and you being up in those floating mountains and being swung around, like that's what this gives me the vibes of. Well, maybe because of Flight of Passage. I'm just projecting.
Can we go really old school and work in some sort of flowers of trees, little silly symphonies, little, some kind of action there that makes some serenity?
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I love the idea of like a Fantasia-esque, like a nature ride like that. That'd be really fun. Up next, we've got Gregory Lewis with a Stranger Things ride top spin. Rob, can you tell me about this one?
Okay, so, Stranger Things makes sense because, the whole thing is the upside down, right?
Oh, perfect.
And then, so you're going on a tour of this, the Sinister Lab, and then you get in this vehicle. But if you click through, what they've done is taken the vehicle, but then encased it in sort of its own rotating drum structure.
Oh, my gosh.
So this kind of combines the top spin with like a Vekoma Madhouse, if you've ever been one of those. And I can't quite process it in my head because when you're just in sort of a static vehicle, those things mess with your head. But if you're spinning within a spinning drum of scenery, like the possibilities for that are just like brain destroying. Oh, yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, get the sawdust
really
for this
cool
one.
effects,
But yeah, and the video they made.
I can't believe these people are making 3D models and video. Wow.
Up next,
So cool.
we have Albert Vlier. This ride is set in the New York harbor. You have been called to a meeting which the mobs in an Italian restaurant. You owe them money, and you know it. The time is serious, and these guys know that the last dollar, they want to shake the last dollar from your pockets. There you go. This is the Give Kids the World donation ride, all right? This is what I'm talking about.
We have a soprano. There's a soprano
concept
tonight,
art.
I think.
That concept art is a mood. Look at that.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Like it
And how
perfectly
you have it,
captured.
the metal of the attraction be all rusty and metally and grimy. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I love the fact the concept art feels so atmospheric. Like you feel like you're in those old gangster movies. It's got the right amount of smoke and lighting and grime, and then incorporating the ride vehicle into kind of like this dock machinery. It look, even though think it's that theme park thing of, even though it's something you've never seen in real life, you look at it and it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
In the
it could be a Dick Tracy theme too.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. I was about to say,
If you happen to visit this ride, right?
Over the top villainous thing to construct. Hey, boss, we're gonna make this big machine that shakes money at all everybody's pockets.
Yeah, see, yeah.
Yeah. I like just quite lighthearted.
All the ride operators. Hey, boss.
It was.
What is this, Joyzy?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Up next we have Hayden with
Ooh.
the Three Sisters Geyser. Rob, tell us about this beautiful.
So this is themed to sort of a classic national park where there's, a geyser going off, and that's what's creating this upwards motion. But it's beautiful.
Geysers.
As always.
Yeah, that's sculpted rock.
I saw Wilderness Lodge in my mind's eye when I looked at that has that whole kind of vibe. Yeah.
It reminded me of Geyser Mountain, that one, project they were talking about for Frontierland a long time ago over at Disneyland.
Yes.
But that artwork, just even like the detail and the railing, the woods, and the nice little archway entrance.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's won the award for most beautiful.
I mean, how could it not? I mean, it's so good. Every time I see something that Hayden does, it makes me a little bit angry inside because...
Next time I talk to Hayden, I'm going to call him the most beautiful. This is ridiculous.
We'll get him a badge and he can just wear it and then no one will know it's talking about his artwork.
And even like the side pieces of art, how it has like the old rusty look to it, the old kind of sepia out.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Coming soon to
Well
the
done.
Rob Yo gift shop is a pin that you can buy to commemorate your win.
Most beautiful. Yeah.
Up next we have Blogger
This is
Coaster.
Oh man, this one is
The devil is so cool.
So the idea is you're queuing and it looks like they're recruiting like trainee cooks to be chefs working in a kitchen, and it kind of has like a ratatouille vibe. And then you go through this elaborate queue of being in real Italy, and then when you get there, it's this demon who just wants to eat you.
It's so awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, Pietro's evil cannelloni.
Man, I love when these designers are putting thought into the entrance archway that you would walk into, and then like you get a sample of the architecture, and then flip everything upside down, and then there's a big chef devil about to eat you.
Yeah,
That's just pretty amazing.
The menus,
awesome.
the specials. It's very, very fun.
I want to have some like banana effect that King Kong had over at Universal, but there's like this guy has to have some bad breath. Not like Stitch in his burp, but something that like kind of blasts at you, some hot air.
Demon can hold his breath.
Oh,
Up next we have Josiah DePauli. I hope I said that right. Sorry, Josiah. Guests visit a city above the clouds. We rise and fall and spin as things grow progressively stormier, leading to a final confrontation with a giant storm beast. This is really fun.
So there's loads more details, but what amazed me about this is taking kind of an off-the-shelf ride, which is usually just an excuse for a thrill, but then turning it into this complete dark ride experience. So I think they're talking about this pre-show where they talk about this race of bird people, and then you're going to get to go visit them using machine powered by a sunstone. And then you get lifted up through clouds and you see this civilization. You come back down, and as you go up, because you've used this sunstone, the clouds suddenly turn stormy, and there's this beast that starts attacking you. So it's just taking it to a whole other level. Like, it's not just being spun around; it's a dark ride.
All right. Sounds like there's a plane going over something right now.
It's not me this time, I promise.
All right, up next is Nikki Design Create with Canelon God of the Sea. This is gorgeous. I love that artwork of that top-down view of the.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have that framed on my wall because that's so
Beautiful. Yeah.
But it's a great piece of concept art when it makes you want to go there immediately, because this is what you're going to give to the people who have to open their wallets to make it happen. So if you can do something that's like, yeah, I want to pay for that to be built because I want to walk around this tropical island with the the walkways and the rocks and the water, it'd just be so beautiful. No, I think it's beautiful. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I love how
Wrapping up on the side
Yeah.
too. That's pretty.
and
pretty
how it's
clever.
just a curious little oct. He's he doesn't seem threatening. He just seems fun and cute.
Just watching.
All right, up next
tormenting.
we have the corn cobber from Christopher Tillman,
Yeah.
and let us just let it just speak for itself.
Yo.
Want to be a colonel on the country's largest ear of corn, the corn cobbler.
This is great.
This is so good.
Wow. That's perfect.
I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see like like those carnival rides that are like lightly themed that travel like theming one
Yeah.
like this. It's genius. It's genius, and you just sell it next to
Awesome.
roasted corn. It's a money maker. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Well, you need to sell
essentially-
corn holders for sure. That's the key.
Oh, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, yeah.
It's just so much fun, and this is the only person who's made a physical model of it, because I was impressed enough by the 3D models, but this was, printed and cut and painted and then made into an actual little film. Is terrific
Awesome.
work.
Yeah, it's really a wonderful. It's so simple. You don't need to say much about it because it wraps up the entire idea of its storytelling in just one look. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we've got Jojo Levin. Oh my goodness.
We'll just go with Jojo.
Jojo
Yeah,
and
it's
Michael.
safer.
Mad Max Valhalla Run. Rob, can you tell us about this one?
Okay, so it's worth for people watching to pause and read through because there's so much detail in this. But basically, it's themed to Mad Max Fury Road, and this is Furiosa's what's it called? The Citadel, I believe. So it's this kind of post-apocalyptic like biker gang vibe environment, but you got people in cages who are being harvested for their blood. It's
What
so
a cool
dark.
cue. Are those animatronics in the cages?
I think so. Yes.
Awesome.
But then you get this pre-show, and then look at
Oh, wow.
Holy
amazing.
smokes.
Wow.
So you eventually feel like you're riding the dunes on like such a great kind of and you just blast that room full of air and like all those revving sounds and I can imagine being very immersed and feeling like you're flying through the deserts very easily. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I love the whole cue and the build up and the setting for it because it's such a great fit, and you can imagine from that movie it being a really great environment to pad out in terms of props and theming.
It's so great.
That's intense.
All right, up next we have the winner of the entire challenge, the golden armchair itself, from Lars. Rob, let's give Lars a round of applause. Rob, take us home. Rob, tell us why
That
this
is
was the
gorgeous.
winner.
This entry is kind of like a beautiful onion because I just kept peeling layers and
It's
layers
like a
back,
beautiful
and
ogre.
every time. Yes, it's like a beautiful Shrek, if you can imagine such a thing. But every time I thought I'd seen the wow moment, there's another wow moment underneath that. So starting off, you got these beautiful bits of concept art for the architecture, which is kind of Industrial Revolution era Britain. And then, the queue, you've got these greenhouses. And then basically the story is, I believe, is kind of a mine where there's this sort of forbidden crystal, and now the workers there are kind of trapped in purgatory. But you can still go to this factory, experience this digging machine. And the best thing is Lars built the frigging land in virtual reality.
Oh my god.
I can't get over how cool this is, and it looks beautiful as well.
We're gonna have to rename the award the Lars Award.
Wow.
Yeah,
Holy smokes. Show off. This is so good.
No, this is like next level here.
Let's go walking through the land. He's thought about what costumes the cast members are going to be wearing, so they look like miners.
He had 2 weeks to do this.
Yes,
It's crazy.
this is why I wanted to make it clear that this wasn't like a project that had already been done for a college assignment. This is since the competition was announced.
I like that it's underground.
Yes, which fits the theme perfectly.
This is amazing. No kiosks selling merch and water and food, though. Come on. Where's that?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about Blue Sky is you don't have to have these beautiful paintings with strollers and piles of backpacks and popcorn and merch.
I think this is a really fun way to really take something so simple as a ride vehicle like this, and really by putting forth such amount of storytelling in that queue and in the kind of theming in the land, you can get away with doing so much with ultimately a rather simple design. I mean, these are just a bunch of large empty buildings that are just themed really nicely. You know, it's not something that you could see this at an amusement park easily, and it's gorgeous.
It's so cool.
A great demonstration of how theming can elevate any attraction, even if it's, you know, such a basic off-the-shelf common one, by turning it into part of the story, because then, you know, the queue is building it up and it's part of this experience, and then it's suddenly putting it into context, so it becomes an adventure rather than just, I got spun around and I didn't throw up. I went into this mine and I saw these crystals and all these miners who were talking to me. But yeah, I couldn't believe this. Yeah,
that was gorgeous.
Well done, Lars.
I feel really bad about myself during this quarantine. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, literally, I just ate and gained weight. Like, Lars ate something very amazing.
Well,
good job, Lars.
Fantastic work, Lars. Fantastic work to everyone who's shown off here on this challenge. You all did absolutely fantastic job. Everything is gorgeous. I'm jealous of all of your skills. You're wonderful. And coming up soon, challenge number 3. Rob, what are you thinking? Last time we put it out there. Did you get any good feedback last time?
Well, all I'm hearing from people is that they're loving these challenges and a chance to sort of use their imaginations and expertise to come up with these absolutely incredible entries. And the problem is I've got to keep raising the bar because people keep surprising me with how... Yeah, I've got to try and outfox Lars now.
I really do.
Like, yeah, you think you're so great.
I really do love that whole, like I said at the top of this, the coloring page kind of thing. By taking a very specific kind of thing and saying, no, just color this in your way. I really love that about this challenge. I thought it was really unique. Versus the food cart and leaving that kind of open-ended. What kind of food? What's the cart going to be?
Right.
Like, this was just like, this felt very real, and I loved seeing everyone take those concepts and just run with it. So I think you did a good one with this.
Well, I hope it inspires people to, like, even if you're not a professional and in the industry or even have that kind of skill set, this is like the full spectrum of levels of artwork. But each of those pieces still have that great storytelling where we get it. You know, it could be like a sketch on a napkin. It could be something done with crayons, or it could be done like Lars did it. But I think it's really cool to see them all together like this, the same ride system over and over. So I just hope more people, it's more work for you, Rob, but it's like, I think more people will be inspired to participate, whatever the Challenge 3 one is, because you don't have to be a Lars, you don't have to be Hayden, but like everyone could do it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Well said, Sam. I agree. Yeah.
Aaron, where can people find you at?
I am on Twitter at Aaron H. Goldberg. Website aaronhgoldberg.com. I have books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Audible. You name it, wherever you can buy a book, you can find my Disney books.
Fantastic. And when can we find?
Thank you.
What next obscure Walt Disney the Man thing are you going to give us?
I have something in the works.
How Walt Disney did the Macarena? Is there enough information there for that? Is the question.
How Walt Disney went to bed? How Walt Disney goes to the bathroom? I don't know what. I mean, the options are limitless. So I'm gonna have to collaborate with Rob, my amazing graphic designer and illustrator, and we'll see how Walt pees the bed. I'm not sure what's really gonna happen. But there's
Please don't write a book about that. I don't have to draw that cover.
How Walt went to bed? Yeah. So, yeah, there's always something looming. Maybe I think by next year I should have something out and about to the world.
I cannot wait. And
thank you,
Sam. Absolute pleasure to have you. Where can people find you?
Well, as usual, I am at on Twitter way too much, but at Cartar Sauce over on the Twitter, and my website samcarterart.com, where you can check out all the Carter creative design projects that we work on, and Wonderground. I mean, I'll have to pinch myself that I have artwork over there. So when the park's open, go check out some stuff at Wonderground. I'm working on 6 more pieces right now, which is fun.
Whoa.
Stuff's still moving. Yeah, stuff's still moving while the parks are closed. Art is being created.
Awesome.
Well, to find out when the next challenge will be issued and what the next challenge is, make sure to follow Rob or I on Twitter at RobJyo, right? You have a middle, middle initial in there. Ooh, man, that's how I know we're friends, because I know your Twitter handle. Or follow me at Disney Dan. I mean, like, think about it. We're in this digital age now where you know everybody by, like, what their at is versus what their real name is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little...
Yeah, it's like when you used to memorize phone numbers, except now it's Twitter handles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, remember when we used to know all those phone numbers all the time? And now it's like, I don't know what my mom's phone number is. Anyway, Rob, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone who entered. I mean, it's such a joy to look through all of these and see everybody's creativity, and I can't wait to see what comes up in challenge number 3.
Boom. Fantastic. Thanks so much, gentlemen.
Dan, thanks for having me on. Dan, Rob, thanks for inviting me, and Sam, always
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
No, loved your insight. Yeah.
And I want that picture, Aaron, that's behind you. Just give me that. Give me that print.
I'm sending
I want to go there.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Don't we all?
Everyone, stay tuned for Armchair Imagineering Challenge number 3. And congratulations, Lars. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.